Lighting. Story time with guitar. Welcome to Story Time with Guitar. Way back when I was a kid, when I went into boarding school, is when my chest issues started. I've been to the hospital like many times to different hospitals. They've taken x-rays, they've done tests, and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. So I'm like, what's this thing that hurts in my chest? And what is hurting in my chest? Because it hurts. Like when it gets really hot, and when it gets very cold mostly, and you would find that if I want to cool myself down, like cool the pain down, when I take hot water it would get worse. Sometimes I would even puke. So I was like, what's wrong then? What I had concluded before going to these hospitals is, because what I observed is when I went into boarding school in grade 10, somewhere in grade 10 is when I noticed the chest problems starting. And I concluded to say it's because this city is very cold. So my boarding school was in Southern Province. And if you live in Southern Province, or if you've ever been to Southern Province, that place is the most hot place and it's the most coldest place when it's cold. If I tell you that in boarding school, if you don't have two jerseys, then you're dead. Because I had two jerseys, and sometimes I used to wear both of them, two jerseys at the same time. And the problem is there were too many rules, like you couldn't wear tights, at least if they used to allow us to wear tights, like when it's too cold, like you wear your uniform and then you put tights underneath, but that wasn't allowed. And that's how come I concluded to myself to say, I think it's the cold that was creeping up like in me slowly until I developed this chest problem. I have a bladder problem and I have pelvic issues. So at the time when I noticed, like I wasn't well, I didn't really know what was going on with me because I was too young. That was before I even reached my teen years. I presented it to an older person, and the answer they gave me is that it's normal in women. So I was like, oh, okay. This damn pain. I would fail to pee sometimes. It's more like whatever I used to release the pee is like closed off, like it's closed off. There's no space for pee to pass. And my pelvis was always in pain. My pelvis was always in excruciating pain. Trust me. I don't want to compare it to labor, like giving birth, but that pain is not something easy to deal with. Being in boarding school, there was a clinic, and I remember when I went for tuition somewhere, there was a clinic there as well. I visited both these clinics, and they told me, like, this is a way big issue, because the clinics at the school, they didn't have like equipment to test somebody. So they told me this is like a way big issue. You need to visit like an actual hospital, a big hospital, so that they can do further tests and all that. So whilst in school, I was just being given antibiotics. Even as I got older, I knew like if this issue starts up, I should just get antibiotics, until there was a time when antibiotics stopped working. 2018 is when I found a job, like my first job that was actually paying me, and a job that was actually sustaining me. Like I was able to rent my own house, and I was able to pay bills and get groceries. So also being covered under medical insurance, I was like, this is the time for me to take myself to the hospital, because you can die, guys, if you're just sitting and you're not doing anything. There was this hospital that I used to go to when I was younger, and I thought about it. I was like, I think I should go to that hospital. This is the only private institution I know, the only private hospital that I know for now. And this is a hospital I've known like ever since I was young. I was being taken to this hospital. I think I should visit this hospital. I explained like what I was feeling and what I've had for years. And they were like, girl, what were you waiting for? Chill, guys, there's an aeroplane. I'm still waiting for the aeroplane to pass. How is it this slow? I now have a few knowledge about aeroplanes because my boyfriend is a genius with these things. Like he has knowledge about aeroplanes and cars. So I want to shine a bit. Is that an Airbus or a Boeing that's passing? Because it's passing too slow. The doctor was like, girl, what were you waiting for? Because if this condition goes to its extremities, do you know that you would have died? And you know how doctors are. You can't really defend yourself like, no, I didn't have money, or there was no one to bring me at the time, or I was busy. They'll just shout at you and tell you, girl, you should be taking care of your life first besides anything. They immediately like scheduled for me to have x-rays, and they scheduled for me to carry out a procedure. So for the x-rays, it was for the chest, like to check what's wrong with me, and they were like, there's nothing wrong with your chest. Like they showed me the x-rays and everything was clean, like look, everything is okay, there's nothing wrong with your chest. So I'm like, then what's this thing that hurts in here? Like it hurts all the time, guys. It's like it's undescribable. I can't describe the pain unless if I'm feeling it myself. For the bladder issue, they had advised that first of all I carry out a cystoscopy so that they check like if there's a polyp, if there's a growth inside. If there is, then I was gonna have a surgery and go onto medication and all that. Here comes the spicy part. The date was scheduled for the cystoscopy, and I was told immediately something was found, like the procedure had to be carried out. Before carrying out the cystoscopy, I was told I needed to have a scan first. So before scanning, I was advised to take a lot of water, and I was told I would only be ready for the scan like if I felt really, really pressed, like pee was about to like come out. So I was told to drink a lot of water at the hospital. I was given bottles of water. First of all, I was given 2 bottles of water. My stomach just felt bloated, and they were like, but do you feel the need to pee? I need you to feel the need to pee. Hey guys, they kept on giving me bottles and bottles of water until I started dancing around. I was like, guys, I'm gonna pee myself. Then they said, yeah, you're now ready. So I went in for the scan and they didn't see anything. So they were like, no, we just need to carry out the cystoscopy. They carried out the cystoscopy and they immediately scheduled a procedure for me, and I knew something was wrong because they already told me if we find something, then you need to come for a procedure. I was advised I needed someone to be with me in the theater room. I never needed to be alone, and I was like, that's alarming. Like, okay. They were like, you need someone, so find somebody. Like, you need someone by your side. And they're like, okay, this is serious. Wow. Okay. And in my head, I was just like, am I gonna die? I had to think of someone who would come and be on my bedside. The only person I had at the top of my head at that point was my boyfriend. When it came to friends, most of the friends, like who I would go out, okay, this is my friend, this is my close friend, someone who would be there by my bedside. At the time, they weren't in the same city as me. And those who I considered as, okay, this is maybe a mate or a friend, I had to think really hard, like, should I call this one or I call this one? When it came to friends, it was difficult for me because I had stopped making friends and I was only like being friendly with people and not making them my friends. So it was difficult like to call just about anybody for that kind of like serious emergency. I wrote names down on a list and I was like, am I gonna call you or I'm gonna call you? I actually told my boyfriend about this already, but he had to go back to university, so he wouldn't be there on the day that was scheduled. One came in mind. I thought of 2 people actually. 2 people came in mind, a mate and a relative. This relative is an auntie-in-law. So I think, I don't know if I talked to her first, the auntie-in-law, and she was like, I think she said she was busy. It's unclear, it's been too long, I don't recall. I went for the mate now. Well, me and this girl were just being like friendly with each other. I wouldn't call us like friends, so I just mates. So I told her like, check, there's this procedure and I need you to be there. And she also said she was busy, and I was just like, F you people. Okay, in spite of us like not being friends, if one of them had to call me like, I need you, I would go in spite of us just being mates. So I thought it would be the same. So I was just like, F you people, F you. And if I die, not that I told them that, but I was just like, you're being like, I don't think you're being honest. In my mind, I was just like, I don't think you're being honest. Nobody would come through. And I was just like, F you niggas. Like, I'm used being on my own. I'm gonna be there for myself. If I have to wake up like during the procedure and save myself, I'm gonna do that. I go in for this surgery and I saw a familiar face. And this familiar face was like a family friend. Yeah, she was a family friend. Let's just go with that. She was a family friend. She was a nurse. So I greeted her and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And she was like, I'm working here just for a bit." And she was actually the nurse that was assigned to be in the theater where I was going to be. So like, isn't God good? Because I was told you need someone by your side. You need someone by your side, firstly to take care of you, secondly to take care of your things. So when I went to the hospital, I told them, nobody's gonna be at my side today. So what was the reason? Then they told me the two reasons. And then I was like, isn't there somewhere where I can just like lock up my belongings? Because I only went with a handbag which had my phone and my ATM card. Those are the only things I was worried about. Is there somewhere, maybe a locker where I would lock my bag? And they were like, don't worry, we'll just put it beside you, beside your bed. And when moving you, we'll move the bag with you. I'm like, problem solved. This family friend nurse person, she was like, oh, you're having a procedure. What's wrong? I explained in bits. I didn't really trust her, so I didn't open up at all. And I was like, I guess if I don't open up at all, you're gonna discover like whilst you're there at my bedside, I'm not gonna open up at all. So I didn't open up much. I just told her in bits. And she was like, where's the person you're gonna be with in the theater? And I was like, nobody's coming, girl. And then she was like, okay, I'll take care of your bag. Because sometimes if you're alone, you might forget it in there, then to get mixed up. I was like, okay, thank you. I was given a hospital gown. I was like, this is serious. You know, most of the times when I would get like really ill was when I was a kid and I wouldn't really remember like what was happening, but I was an adult and I could see like everything that was happening. And I was like, oh, this shit is real. So, okay, hospital gown. I was given the hospital gown. I changed into the hospital gown. I laid down on the bed. Decided fixing the, what is it called again? Catheter? Catheter. I don't know. Words are running away from my head, but I think it's a catheter. Decided fixing it on my hands, and I'm like, this is gonna pinch. I'm like, just put it in, please. I'm a badass. They put me on a bed. The anesthesiologist was a guy. It was a male anesthesiologist. The nurse was a woman, the same family friend I met, and the doctor was a guy. So I was like, so these niggas are going to see my things, like my valuables, like my jewelry, like this is not right. Like, how do you see me like that for free? Why do they see people's things? This anesthesiologist guy, I'm gonna give him a name, but that wasn't his name. I'm gonna give him Mark. I'm gonna give him Dr. Mark. Dr. Mark was chatting me up, and I was wondering, I am antisocial but friendly. So if someone talks to me out of the blues, it's weird to me. I'm like, why are you talking to me? But I do talk to people also. Being antisocial doesn't mean like I'm completely unfriendly. There are sometimes when I talk to people too out of the blues, and I talk to people randomly and I talk to random people when I see the need to, not just anyhow. So when someone just talks to me, I'm like, why are you talking to me? It's weird to me because I'm not that social. Dr. Mark kept on chatting me up, and I was wondering like, why is this dude like talking to me? He was asking me about my personal things like, do you work out? I was like, yes, I do work out. What kind of workouts do you do? I explained everything. Are you in school? I'm like, hell no, I'm not in school. Like, I know I look like a teeny tiny girl, but I am old. I told him I'm working. No, I am working. Yeah, that's what I told him. So he kept on just chatting me up. And after some time, I was like, I think it was an either or. I was like, I think this guy is a perv, or he's just trying to be nice because he's a doctor and he's trying to make me feel comfortable. That's what I thought. I was like, anyways, let me just be responding. But I was getting like sort of irritated with how he was shutting me up, because I'm not like that. I'm not that kind of a girl like who just talks to any man anyhow. Mm-mm. They finally rode me into the theater while the surgery was going to happen. And this Mark guy, he was like, I want you to count from 1 up to 10. So I was like, what the F? Why? Guys, I said counting. 1, 2, I don't even remember where I ended. I don't remember where I ended. So next thing now, I wake up and I'm in another room. And I'm like, how did I get here? Just a minute ago, I was counting and I was in another room. What am I doing here? And I was alone. And I was like, and I was covered up like in a bed sheet. And I was like, what the hell? How did I get here? That's when I realized to say, oh, Mark sedated me without warning me. That's why he was asking me like count 1 up to 10. I was like, Mark. When I woke up though, I was still very, very weak. Like I was weak. I couldn't get up. And opening my eyes weren't like wide open, like how wide open they are right now for me to see things clearly. Things were blurred, but I was able to hear sounds. So I heard a door open, and my eyes couldn't open, guys. My eyes weren't like opening because I was still like in sedation mode. So a door opens, and this person calls me by my name, and they're like, are you okay? And it was a male voice, and I was like, mm-hmm. And this guy was like, it's me, it's Mark. And I was like, okay. And this Mark guy was like, are you awake? Like, are you fully awake? And I was like, no, not really. Guys, you know, like when you're sleeping, if you've never been sedated before, let me describe it to you the way it is. Sedation is like this. If you wake up, like slightly wake up, it's like this. You know how it is like when you're in a deep sleep and then someone is talking to you whilst you're sleeping, but you're responding. That's how it was. You're not fully awake, you're just like lying down there, and you actually think, am I dreaming or am I actually talking? And I was weak. I couldn't get up. So this guy kissed me. Yes, you heard that right. You heard it right. This Mark guy kissed me. Like smooching me. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, what kind of a hospital is this? And now remember when I said it was an either or situation, why I was feeling like a bit awkward when the Mark guy was chatting me up earlier. Remember I said it's either he's just trying to be like kind and making me feel comfortable, or he's really like weird, he's a perv. And I proved myself right. This guy was a perv. If I tell you that if this guy actually did something more than kissing me, I wouldn't have defended myself. I was weak. I wasn't going to defend myself. I don't know why men have this mentality to think that they can have access to a woman anyhow and the woman would like it and they wouldn't find a problem with it. I know out there some women who are that accessible, like even on the streets. Like I do get very, very aggressive on the street. Like, let me give you an example. A guy approaches me and he's like, hi. Hi is not harmful. I'm like, hi, how are you? Fine, thank you, how are you? Fine. And the guy doesn't want to end there and he's like, I like you, I want to get your number. Before he even goes further, then I would now like turn up my aggressive side of me. Then I'll be like, what's your name? And this guy would tell me the name and I'll be like, what makes you think you talk to me the way you're talking to me? What gives you the right? No, I just want to get to know you. And I'm like, what makes you think you'd approach a woman who you don't know? What if you're talking to a ghost? What makes you think you can just approach a woman in whatever way you want and this woman will give you what you want? How do you know I'm not married? No, you don't look married. And I'm like, what makes you think I'm not married and I have kids? No, if you're married and you have kids, I'm so sorry, I wouldn't really know. And I'm like, yes. So that teaches you that you should be able to respect people before you approach them. You just don't approach a woman anyhow. No, I'm sorry. So yes, there are some women who are that accessible. Like you meet a woman and she'll like you and she'll give you a number and she'll sleep with you the same day, but we are not all like that. So in this moment when this guy was smooching me, which is disgusting by the way, like someone who you don't know, imagine someone that you don't know is smooching you. Disgusting. I was so grossed out. I was like, God, if you could just like give me strength right now so that I wake up and I report this fool like right away. Guys, even if, for example, let's say if I had to say I scream, my voice wasn't that projected, like for me to talk the way I'm talking. No. And it wasn't projected enough like for me to scream and say, hey, what are you doing? What? Or for me to get up and trust me, if I was like in my normal state, that guy would have regretted like doing what he did. So I came up with a plan because I was like, what if the next time I come here, because this hospital sometimes only used to receive like doctors from another hospital, they didn't have a permanent doctor there for certain things. So I was like, what if I decide to keep quiet and the next time I come here, this guy is not gonna be around? So I came up with a plan. I was like, Mark, and he was like, yes. And I was like, let me give you my number, then you can text me. And this fool, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He got his phone because I didn't have my phone around. If I did, and if I had the strength, yeah, I was gonna put it in my phone. But I was just like, I hope when this guy gets my number, he's gonna call me for real because I wanna bust his ass. Mark got my number and I was shouting it out very clearly. What's your number? Da 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 da. He enters it and he saves my name. After some hours, I was now fully awake. Like fully awake. I was now fully awake. And I just woke up angry and I was hoping he's around. And I asked him, like, what's your name? He told me his name already, but I asked him because I wanted him to give me his full names. And I was like, ah, you've already forgotten. Then he gave me his names, foolishly gave me his full names. And he said his full names. Let me just give an example to say, I am Mark Benjamin. I was like, okay, Mark Benjamin, I hope you text me because I want to hear from you. I was fully awake. A nurse came in and she was like, oh, you're fully awake. How do you feel? And she was like, you're not supposed to go home today. You go home tomorrow. And I was like, I am fine. Trust me, if that incident didn't happen with the Mark guy, I was going to sleep in the hospital. But I refused. I was like, mm-mm. Next thing, you can get raped. So I told the nurse to say no. And I got up and I got my clothes. I was like, no, I'm not going to sleep here. I know, like, I don't have my strength, my full strength, but I want to go home. I don't want to be here. And she was like, oh no, let me talk to the doctor and see if the doctor can actually allow you because you're supposed to sleep here. You can't go home. I was very weak and um, the, they like opened me up a bit, so I was like in pain. This nurse talks to the doctor and the doctor is like, if the patient says she's fine and if she insists that she wants to go home, let her go home. So that's how come I went in the doctor's office and he asked me how I feeling. I described it. You wanna go home? Why do you wanna go home? And I was just like, is Mark here? And they were like, no, Mark has left. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I wanna go home. I don't wanna be here. Why don't you wanna be here? And I was just like, I don't like hospitals. I wanna be in my own bed. So the doctor was like, that's understandable. And he gave me my medication and I asked some questions like what was up and he explained everything. I'm one person who doesn't have patience. I have both. I have patience and I'm impatient. Ever heard of the word impatiently patient? That's how I am. Like, I would be impatient, but I'm patiently waiting. I went home and I didn't want to wait any second. I wanted to talk to this guy. I texted him. I think I still have the conversation if I didn't delete. But I don't think I would delete because I'm that smart. I always keep things for a rainy day. I'm sure I still have the screenshots. Yes. I texted Mark and I was like, "Hi, Mark." And I said, "Cut here." And I was like, "I know. Who would forget a beauty?" And I was like, "Uh huh. It's good you replied." You. Mark replied. And I had to bait him. I didn't want to tell him there and then, like, "Why did you do this? I'm going to report you." So I had to bait him. I asked him, "Why did you kiss me?" And he says, "You know." And I was like, "No, I don't know." See what I was talking about, the mentality of men? He thought I liked it. And he was like, "You know." And I'm like, "Bish, I don't know nothing." So I told him to say, "No, I don't know. I would like to hear from you why you kissed me." And he told me, he said, "I liked you and you're so beautiful." And I just couldn't resist because I want to start something with you. And I told him to say, "Mark, do you kiss? Is this how you kiss women, like in all the time in your office or your theater or whatever?" And I was like, "No, it was different for you." And you know how men lie, that like you're different. I'm not so sure if he thought I was gullible and naive and stupid, but I'm the opposite of those things. And I'm like, keep talking, bish. Because I was taking screenshots whilst we were texting so that I could have that as evidence. My phone is low, but I revived it. So as I was saying, I'm the opposite of those three things that that guy was thinking I was. I was taking screenshots while we were texting. So I asked him, "Oh, I want to get to know you too, Mark. So I want to know something about you. Are you married? Are you single?" And the guy says, "I'm married. I have 3 kids." And I'm like, "But why would you do something like that to your wife?" And he was like, "I don't want to talk about my wife. I want to talk about you and me." And I took them screenshots. Work was so busy for me. I was still thinking like, how am I gonna handle this situation? Should I go to the police first? Should I go to court, or I should just go like to the hospital and report him? I was still thinking. I asked for advice from my friends and they were like, "Just let it be." And I'm like, "Dude, what if something worse happened?" I actually even mentioned this to Mark to say, "Did you do anything else?" Because now I was thinking to myself, I was unconscious. The time when he came through to smooch me, I was slightly awake but still unconscious. What if he did something worse to me whilst I was like 100% unconscious? So I asked Mark to say, "Did you do anything else?" And he was like, I'm not that filthy of a guy. I didn't do more than that. I just kissed you." And I was like, so you think a kiss is nothing? You think a kiss means nothing? Like, I don't know you and you bring your dirty mouth on my mouth. You think it's nothing? That's what I said in my head. So I didn't really like want to attack this guy because I was plotting something. I was like, I'm gonna report him and he won't see it coming. Finally, when I made a plan, I told myself to say, I made a decision and I told myself to say, I'm just going to report him at the same hospital and then things will be taken up from there. Because this is not right. If he had the opportunity, people work with opportunities. If he had the opportunity, what if he did more? Okay, and I ended up not knowing that that was done to me. Finally, I wrote an email to the hospital and I explained everything in detail and I mentioned his full names. After writing this email, I texted him and I told him, "Look here, what you did was filthy and I wasn't happy about it. I was only talking to you because I wanted to get more information, and now I have reported you to the hospital and I want you to explain to me why you did that." Mostly when people do something bad and you react, they would be like why do maybe like why do you want to do this to me, when actually they're the ones who did something bad to you, right? More like they want to be innocent, like why report me, why take me to the police when they actually did something bad to you. So what I mean is he wanted me like to take pity on him, and he was saying, "Why are you trying to revenge?" Like, revenge what? I'm like, "Dude, revenge? What am I revenging on? Because you're the one who touched me. You made a mistake to do that. So I told him, "I'm going to ruin your life." That's what I told him. And he was like, "Go ahead." So this fool was saying go ahead because of this. So the hospital now replies to my, no, before replying to my email, the director at that hospital calls me and they're like, "We've received your email. Can you explain what you've just explained?" And I explained everything. And they were like, "I am so shocked to hear this. And I'm so sorry that happened. did he do anything more to you? And I was like, I'm not so sure, but he said he didn't. But the only thing I remember and the only thing I felt is him kissing me. So this director now says, we are going to pick this issue up, but the only problem is this doctor you're talking about is no longer in Zambia, he is in America. So we can only pick this issue up when he's back to Zambia. And I was like, oh, now I get why the fool was saying, you go ahead. You know how we watch movies so much, or you know how it is in movies, like when a woman wants to revenge, or just anybody, even a man. I was like, I was telling my friend, I'm like, maybe I should just blackmail this fool and tell him, if you don't pay me this much, I'm gonna tell your wife. But the thing is, I'm not that kind of a person. Of course, I would think about something, but I wouldn't put it in action because I'm not that type of a person. So it was just thoughts at the top of my head. I was like, maybe I should blackmail him. But at some point, I started looking for his wife's number. I'm like, I'm gonna tell his wife at least. This is how this issue went down the drain, guys. I think the guy is still in America. Or maybe he came back, but you know how vast some institutions are, and if someone has a certain position, they're not going to do anything. Nobody's gonna do anything. This person is just gonna pay you off and say, just shut up, dude. It was just a case. Like, why would you suspend my doctor's license over this crap? Like, I just kissed her. I didn't rape her. Or even if they raped you, they would still pay off those people and nothing will be done for you. So I just let it go. I was just like, I just thank God like nothing more was done to me. But that was still filthy, guys. Like imagine someone who you don't know. Ah. Anyways, that's what happened, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hear more of my life stories. Sometimes fiction. I'm gonna compose a fiction story sometime. I just need time because I'm too busy. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. See you next time. Hi, this is me at the hospital. About to go into surgery. I'm freaked out. This is the ward. This is the gown, my bed, and even though nobody is here, God is with me. Terrible. Feels terrible. But I'm good. Jeez. Never been in one of these since I was a baby. But I love the doctors, that's fine. Maybe they're just making me feel easy. This is me after surgery. I'm alive. Yeah. Alive. I wonder what happened. I was unconscious. Jeez.